I think there's a crisis. Congress doesn't think it's a crisis. This abuse of Trump, this abuse of our system, Biden acting like a tyrant to try to jail his political opponent. Republicans seem to endorse it because they're funding it. Speaker Johnson, Congress, with the support of all but 2 Democrats, and I think about 125 Republicans, and about 95 Republicans opposed it. So it was 127 or 25 Republicans, 209, I think, Democrats, all voted to fully fund the Biden administration for the next several months. And it's exactly the sort of thing that McCarthy would have done. It was disappointing that once again there was this opportunity to use this continuing resolution, the need to, quote, fund government to achieve good public policy outcomes. And I don't mean just like, oh, we want to change a law here or there. I mean, we want to protect the republic that's under attack from the Biden administration. We want to defund the abuses of Trump. We want to defund the censorship of tens of millions of Americans. We want to defund the Biden border invasion. I don't know about you, but we can't wait. Our republic is tottering. Our republic is under attack through these abuses. And the Biden administration then gets full funding from this Republican-controlled House for their abuses of Trump. They're shepherding and allowing and helping illegal aliens. Not only, once they get into the country, not only do they kind of stamp them in, but they literally move them with tax dollars into the interior of the United States, enabling the invasion. As I'll talk about later, there's this ongoing censorship of American citizens. And the Jack Smith abuse of Trump, why is that being funded by Congress? And so the response we get often is, oh no, this is going to be, they just needed a little more time because they want to get back to what they call regular order. Now, regular order under Congress is, their thinking is that individual appropriation bills by agency or a combination of agencies should be the vehicle for getting these policy reforms or addressing these emergencies, really, right? And that assumes that Democrats are going to sign on to it. And obviously they're not in the Senate. The Democrats control the Senate. So if they don't sign on to it and you're not willing to shut government down because you have no red lines that you're willing to allow the Biden administration to step over in exchange for government funding, then we're going to be at square one again. So my concern is that Speaker Johnson and too many House Republicans don't care about this enough, at least in terms of willing to shut down the spigot for taxpayer funding of the abuse of American citizens, the invasion of America, and on brazen and unprecedented and wildly abusive election interference and the violation of civil rights of Donald Trump and countless other Americans. In addition to funding the Justice Department's cover-up of Joe Biden and his misconduct. He met with President Xi today, excuse me, not today, Dictator Xi, I hate calling him president, earlier this week. Did you hear much of the media highlighting the fact that he was been compromised by this Chinese government, that he's supposedly representing us in meetings over? No. For all intents and purposes, Joe Biden was a foreign agent of China, the evidence shows, through his sons and his business relationships with the Chinese government entities. I mean, there's a real crisis here. So I don't know what Speaker Johnson's thinking here. I mean, if the plan is to address all these issues in the appropriations process and the appropriations bills, you know, you won't, quote, fund the Justice Department. The Justice Department will shut down unless they stop the abuse of Trump. Maybe that would be good. Maybe that would be the place where they're going to fight. But do you see any indication that they're willing to do that? So I encourage you once again to keep on calling Congress. 202-225-3121, 202-225-3121. And I know, there's a Thanksgiving break. This shows you, well, I want to tell you what the House did. So they voted for the CR, this continuing resolution that just funds all things Biden in the Biden administration. Everything you don't like about the Biden administration, they funded fully. No reforms, no nothing. It was even worse than the last continuing resolution. And so that happened on Tuesday night. On Wednesday, they went home. They went home for Thanksgiving recess. Now, I know I love Thanksgiving. It's one of my favorite holidays. I don't get 2 weeks off or 10 days off for Thanksgiving. Do you get 10 days off for Thanksgiving? I don't. I mean, they couldn't even wait till Friday. They left on Wednesday, the week before Thanksgiving. They are next in session, because they go, quote, travel on Monday. They're next in session on November 28th. So I think there's a crisis. Congress doesn't think it's a crisis. This abuse of Trump, this abuse of our system, Biden acting like a tyrant to try to jail his political opponent. Republicans seem to endorse it because they're funding it. That's the conclusion I have. And I think Speaker Johnson should be asked tough questions like that. And like I said, Speaker Johnson is a conservative guy. He's got a great conservative record. But what happens is, in leadership, you hear a kind of, there are these voices that are elevated, and many of them hate Trump and kind of like the idea of him or those who support him being abused because they don't like him politically. And I'm talking Republicans. So the next time you hear a Republican complain about Biden administration policy, ask that Republican, why didn't you defund it when you had a chance? Why did you just vote to fully fund it? So in the meantime, Judicial Watch will continue its independent investigations, and Congress they're doing some good investigations, not nearly enough given the current crisis. We highlight it where we can. I've talked about Charles Grassley here and Speaker Jordan and Jim Comer. I mean, they're doing some good work, all of which is necessary, but it's woefully insufficient given the forces arrayed against our constitutional republic in terms of the abuse of power, the corruption of Biden, the destruction of our nation through the border invasion, and the mass abuse of our civil rights and violations of our First Amendment freedoms through the censorship regime. Not to mention the anti-American Marxism, communist revolutionary, critical race theory, DEI menace throughout the Biden administration that's largely fully funded at this point. The misuse of tax dollars to snuff out unborn human beings, contrary to law, like in the Defense Department. I mean, we're investigating all that, but Judicial Watch, we can't defund it. We're not running Congress. I can't impeach Biden. How's that impeachment going? They've had one hearing. One hearing. Even the number of hearings of Biden corruption has been woefully inadequate. There's a lot of work to be done. So I'm glad Speaker Johnson released the January 6th videos, but we never can stop being vigilant and demanding that a politician and a political leader do the right thing wherever and whenever necessary. And that means, in my view, taking a strong stance against the creeping tyranny here in Washington, D.C. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and like our video down below.